it's really important for women to really understand how to be the master of money, because there are women more leading from that perspective. And the perception and the thought process and the way that women are told to actually achieve that is to chase the money. You get to the success, you get the financial success and go, I don't feel as safe and secure as I thought I would do.
What's up, everyone? Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Mr MoneyJar Show. Today's guest is Cleo Matlou, the founder of Women About Finance. And this week, we're going to be talking about ways that women can build wealth. This is a topic that Cleo is very passionate about. Of course, the learnings in this episode aren't just for women. They can be applied to men too. But as a woman, Cleo speaks from that perspective. So I do hope everyone sticks with us for this episode. Cleo gets into the details of how she's built wealth for herself, how she educates and guides other women to build wealth also, and shares some personal stories about what got her started on her wealth building journey. It's a fantastic conversation, and I do hope that you enjoy it. You're tuned into the Mr MoneyJar Show. It's showtime. Cleo, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about today. I think it's a very important topic. We're going to be talking about ways that women can build wealth, which I know is a topic you're very passionate about. Mm-hmm. But before we get into that, please tell us who you are and what you do.
So I'm Cleo Matlou. I am a financial coach and money trauma specialist, and I support women to improve their relationship with money, so they can increase their confidence, their resilience around money, and become that wealthy woman that they desire through growing wealth in investing, in many ways they see fit in terms of creating that wealthy woman lifestyle.
How long have you been doing it for?
So officially for 3.5 years, but I feel it's been something that I've been doing for quite some time without noticing and realising I've been doing it. I've accountant by trade, been in the accountant for over 15 years.
Oh, that's your...
So
okay.
Yeah, that's my bread and butter. Yeah, nice. That's my bread and butter. And I've always had a real desire to know more about money, because growing up in a working class background and not having any money, I could see money was everywhere. Like, I've always had that belief. Money is everywhere, but it just wasn't in our household. So I've always been curious as to how does money flow in my direction. And the mastery of money just got me hook, line, and sinker. So the second I had money, I've always been very good with money. And then maybe tether off a little bit at uni. But to the financial education, financial literacy, it came to me very easily without having anyone really steering me in the direction. So it's definitely something that, with my accountancy background, as well as my desire to know about personal finances, is what brought me to this place. So even though I was really interested in the financial power, the money empowering, the women empowering even in the corporate space, the gap was just the money. Having the conversation about money, feeling confident to talk about money, shy away from that all the time and see it's taboo. And I was like, something's missing here, because that's the only way you can acquire wealth. Imposter syndrome, confidence building, all well and good, but to actually create wealth, you got to talk about money.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's great to hear about your accountancy background, because obviously you and I go quite a few years back at this point. We did do a live together back in the old days of the Mr MoneyJar Show. Yeah. And we had quite a cool interaction, because it's our first time meeting in person. Yes. We had quite a cool interaction on Instagram stories the other day when I posted about divorce stats in the UK, which, that wasn't like my usual type of post, but I just felt like I had to talk about it. But yeah, today we're talking about wealth. The way that you're phrasing building wealth then suggests to me that there is a situation that women are in as a group, and then there's a place that we would like to get to in terms of wealth building. So what is the current situation as you would define it?
Chase the money, because over the rainbow, all your problems are going to be solved by chasing the money. Just chase that money and you will feel the wealth, you'll find the wealth, you'll acquire the wealth. And with the uprise of women who being the main earners in the household now, the breadwinners, don't like to use that word, but let's use it for context. It's really important for women to really understand how to be the master of money, because there are women more leading from that perspective. And the perception and the thought process and the way that women are told to actually achieve that is to chase the money. you get to the success, you get the financial success and go, I don't feel as safe and secure as I thought I would do, over the rainbow, at the end of the rainbow. And it's like, okay, what do I do at this point now? Because now I'm in my late 20s and 30s or close to my 40s. And I'm just like, I've ticked off all the tick boxes. I've got the qualifications. I've got the money. I've got, all that I thought I would be able to achieve with money. And yet I don't feel that sense of achievement, that sense of value. And that's the riches, which everybody wants to be rich. But it's the wealth that is really the important part and the missing piece of the puzzle. And because women are becoming the main house owners as well, the main earners, is that they're still behind what men would be earning if they were the highest earners, because there's still the disparity of women being underpaid and having to overgive to try and get a fraction of what men are getting. So there's a big conversation around why it's so important for women to be really focusing about wealth, because yes, the money is great and chasing it does work to a certain point. And you've got to also understand how you can actually make the money work for you. So then you don't have to be constantly chasing it and be in this loop of burnout. There's more to it than just chasing the money.
Okay. So people are chasing income basically, but not keeping it, which is what, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki talks about. It's not about how much you earn, it's about how much you keep, which is Master of Money. Sounds like it's a book that you read?
No, it's just what I say. It's just mastering your money.
Oh, mastering your money.
Yeah, just being a master of money.
Master of Money. But Rich Dad, Poor Dad, was a book that really changed things for me when I was in my 20s when I read it. And it was like, oh, wow, we really value salaries in society. But if you're spending all the money that you earn, then you're actually keeping nothing. So what practical steps do you advise to your clients to build wealth? So
I take it a step back because I talk a lot about money mindset and also financial therapy. The best way to describe it is in order for you to be able to sustain and hold and keep that money, is to also understand what the thought, feelings and behaviors that sit behind some of the reasons why you find it a challenge to actually hold and keep it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that because you're not being able to hold and keep what you are earning, that you are a bad person or that you're not illiterate or that you're not good with money. You are not your mistakes. And it's all about how to understand where that stems from. So I have the 4R approach, which is recall. The first one's recall. So understand externally, from a practical perspective, where are the money leaks? Where is your money actually going? Are you actually really tracking it and monitoring it in the way that is going to be able to see, okay, that's where I'm losing money. That's where I'm not able to hold and keep. These are the habits and behaviors that I am doing that's stopping me from actually holding on to this money. And then we can look internally. Is that what is important to me? What does money mean to me? And how do I feel about money? When I think about money, what are my initial thoughts? How do I talk about money? Where am I getting some of these beliefs around money that I'm struggling to hold and keep it, or even to make it for some people? And a lot of that is rewiring your financial legacy. When I talk about financial legacy, it's about what you have been taught growing up. So whether it is from the childhood or experiences that you have gone through that stops you from feeling that you can hold and keep money. So I'll share one of my money trauma experiences where I was 20. I was just about to go on the Ayia Napa trip. 3 days before, my cousin passed away in a car crash. She was 18. And I had my travel insurance. I'm a big believer of insurance for everything. I have insurance for everything. Safeguarding, that's me as a way I save myself. The way that I can safeguard myself with money and keep me safe is to have insurances. And I got the forms, I got her death certificate to actually fill out the form to have my money back because that's what my travel insurance is for. And I never did it. And up to this day, for me having to reclaim back money, even though I have insurance for everything, I find it really challenging, because it always brings me back to that moment when I first had to do my first claim. And that's what money trauma is all about. So it's actually recalling, and the recall doesn't have to be that of a visceral experience or challenge. There just could be some smaller challenges or smaller experiences that are keeping you stuck from actually going, oh, okay, that's my belief, that's what I'm holding in and that's keeping me stuck from actually being able to hold and keep money to today. So it's just recalling some beliefs that you have and things that you affirm all the time when it comes to money, negatively or positively, to really understand why you're not moving in the direction that you desire. Then the second one is to reframe.
Can I just jump and say thank you very much for sharing that story, because I don't think that's paid enough attention to how things you experience can affect your ability to do things which were completely fine for you before. I think back to when I was a child, and this is just a minor thing, right? Like I never really got bought the branded trainers. Like I always got bought like the Shoe Zone or the Barrett equivalents and stuff. And for a little bit, once I first got access to my own money as an adult, it was about spending as much as I possibly could on like the branded stuff, just to almost prove to child Timmy that he could buy that stuff. And of course, like no one cares apart from you. This is like your own thing that you're dealing with. And I went through a bit of that phase before. I famously bought a pair of Timberlands for £160, which I wore like twice. They were very clunky and uncomfortable. And I ended up selling them on eBay for like half the price, so it's fine. But it's like, thinking back to experiences that you've had earlier on in your life and how they affect you. Now I still do spend money on things that harken back to my childhood, but I now do it from a joyful place.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm a big gamer, for example. Me and one of my brothers, and we'll like buy video games and we'll play them. But that's coming from a good place. That's not us trying to prove anything to anyone. But sorry, you did recall, and you were saying reform.
And that's the reframe. Exactly what you've just said. That's the second R. The
second
reframe.
R. Okay, cool.
Is that you do it from a joyful place.
Yeah.
But I love that you mentioned that. And what I usually normally say to my clients is that, you're saying yes to yourself now, but you're going to be saying no to your future self. So it's understanding who you're saying yes to and who you're saying no to for every decision that you make financially. So if you're saying no to yourself now, then it probably means that you're saying yes to your future self. But if you're saying yes to yourself now from a place that isn't a reframe, then you're probably saying no to your future self. So it's making those cognitive financial decisions.
And for the people who found that abstract, I think what we're saying is like delayed gratification, basically. If you say no to buying something today and you put that money away, you save it or you invest it, then that's a yes to you, whether it's a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
So like you said, the second part is the reframe. So it's identifying some of the behaviors that you have with money and see whether it's coming from a scarcity, a lack place, or it's coming from an abundant and fulfilling place. And it's just that awareness. It's just that awareness, because when you do have that awareness, you feel less guilt or shame or judgment of when you're making those decisions when it comes to money. It could be that you ended up, like you said, that you spend money on certain things, but it's coming from a joyful place. It's just being able to reframe that actually, that's okay for me to be spending that. So if you decided to continue to spend money on trainers, then it's like, it's now coming from a joyful place. It's not coming from a place of lack because the child, Timmy, was from a place of lack. You're doing it from a place of actually the adult Timmy is the person that is designing it.
I mean, my shoe purchases are now 100% health focused. So I don't even like look at the fashionable aspect of it. I just want to have nice feet for as long as possible. That's my mission in life now. And that took me a while to get to.
Yeah, but it's talking about your money non-negotiables, isn't it? It's having that list of what your money non-negotiables is. And it's for some people, it be that you go first class all the time and drive a banger car, or it could be the other way around. It doesn't have to be logical to me or you or to anybody else. It's just logical to you in terms of what your money non-negotiables are, and they're going to be different for everybody. So that reframe part is there are some things that may seem a bit frivolous, but it's it makes me feel good. And I'm okay with that, because then there's other parts that I don't really care for. And I now have that awareness that I'm not going to be spending on that kind of category anymore, because I know I was doing that from a place of lack. So once you understand that, you can then drop the guilt of when you actually are spending money, and you know that it's from a place of self-love of yourself as opposed to impulsively doing it.
Yeah. Take us on to the third R.
Third R is recalibrate. So it's recalibrate now. You can have a look at your finances, really looking at entirety, go back to them and go, okay, now that I did the recall, see where I am in terms of my money leaks and the things that I'm unable to hold and keep. Now let's really look at the future me in terms of what is it that what's the steps that I want to take in regards to be able to create that wealth. I may not be able to save everything what I want to be saving now for that target, but I'm going to start doing that now. I'm going to make those habits now and put in those behaviors. So then when you expect your income to increase, that I'll be able to add more to that pot of wealth gradually. And it goes for looking at, what can I do with my income? What can I do with my investments? What investments am I interested in? Is it going to be just index funds? Is it going to be property, whatever it is? So you get to recalibrate the whole picture in terms of how you're making your money, how you can make your money start to work for you. And then the fourth one is riches and wealth. So it's like, okay, I've put those things into place. Now let's really accelerate that. How can I really start to investigate to make money work for me? So then I can be patient, put it away, put it aside, be patient and let that grow. So it could be looking at, what ways you can protect yourself. How can I create a legacy, future planning, legacy planning, really understand the parts that is going to break those generational ties around money, that is going to really take you from someone who's working from a place of lack to actually go into your riches and your wealth.
Thank you for sharing that framework with us. I love a framework. On the weekend just gone, I spent some time with my cousin and his partner, and we did some goal setting for 2024. And there were lots of little frameworks that she used to go through with me. So I do like that. And I think that what you're talking about is very important. I do, because I'm sure there's probably been a study done on this, but I wonder if you looked at all of the money that was spent in the UK, not on stuff that you need, so your rent and bills and stuff, not money that's spent on what you want, so things that are coming from that place of self-love and that place of joy, but how much of our spending is actually trauma-based. I would love to find out how much that amount of money is on a yearly basis. How much money is being spent because you went on social media and you saw that couple on that holiday, and so now you need to go on a holiday to feel better about yourself. How much money is being spent because you're tired and so you need to comfort buy something? How much money is being spent because you've just been attacked by so many adverts that now you need to buy something? I imagine it's probably quite a lot.
A huge amount. But I think the problem is a lot of people are so unaware that they're doing it. So unaware. So it's how do you get people to honestly answer the question, are you doing it from a place of lack, or are you doing it from a place of self-love? Because a lot of people, and I know for the people that I work with, they don't really identify that, really, and are ashamed actually, and feel very judged and guilty to actually admit that that's how they're doing it, and how they're spending.
Because I'm speaking in broad brush strokes here, right? But if we go to Knightsbridge and we see there'd be lots of nice cars there, dudes in nice cars, and it makes me wonder, how many of these people actually like the car they're driving, or how many of them are trying to signal to everyone, look, I'm a rich guy in a nice car, please love me. What happened to that? I'm not trying to stereotype anyone or judge anyone, but there's obviously going to be a split between the people who are driving what they want and people who are driving to try and signal, coming from a place of, as you say, scarcity or lack. But are people actually capable of being self-love driven, or is it all just trauma, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, I truly believe, and yes, and there's going to be a no, but predominantly yes, because as you grow, you go to the next evolution of growth. So where you are now and where you desire to be, from that step, then yes, you can identify whether you are operating from a place of self-love or self-lack. And then once you've like completed that level, then there's probably a new game.
On to the next
the news one.
guess,
The next level to go for that framework again. And you keep evolving as you go, as you go through life, because the things that you wanted 10 years ago is not going to be the same thing as we want now. So the things that were self-love acts and what made me happy when it came to purchases is completely different as it was 10 years ago. So as you evolve through life, though, your beliefs will adapt and evolve based on where you currently are, whether you are with a family or not, or having to look after elderly parents and stuff like that. The meaning to life does slightly shift here and there depending on what's going on in your experience.
Yeah. We've talked about the softer side. We've talked about some of the money mindset stuff, which is really important, really, really important. Laura Anmore, another guest on the show, talks about mindset a lot as well. But if we come on to maybe the more like the more tangible side, maybe some of the like the numbers and like tools and stuff that people can use. What's your advice to women who want to build wealth, focusing on some of the more tangible aspects?
Yeah. So I always, for me, like I said, insurances, because I'm a mum of two. So for me, insurances are really important. So whether it's income protection, whether it's critical illness, whether it's life insurance, in terms of building generational wealth, they're probably the lowest entry for you to get into. Because, for an example, the family benefit insurance, I mean, mine's like £25 a month. And what that is that if anything happened to me, then my children will get my salary every single month up to the age of 18. So then I know that if anything happened to me, they'll be covered. They're fine. My house will be paid off as well with my mortgage protection. Critical illness. I have life insurance. I know there'll be a payout. I mean, my kids are very well looked after. If anything happened to me, obviously don't want it to happen, but it's should it happen. So in terms of, because I know a lot of women who feel like, I don't have enough money, I don't have money put aside, especially the cost of living crisis, that people are struggling to save as much as they did before. Those are very, very easy entry points to be able to at least say, generational wealth wise, I know that my kids and my family will be covered from the perspective.
What's your advice to people in the Black community who want to have that life insurance conversation with maybe a parent or like an older relative, and then they get back the whole like, are you trying to kill me? Why are we talking about insurance?
Well, actually, if they have a pension, some actually already pay out some form of death life insurance. I know for definitely if they're in the public sector, they have something that is attached to the pension. So they may have it and not actually realise if they are in the public sector. But to speak to the Black community about that, I guess it's to share with them actually, if you want to be able to know that I'm going to be okay, and that I'm going to be looked after, and that your funeral costs are going to be looked after, that I don't have to worry when you go, then at least have that peace of mind to know that we're going to be fine, we're going to be okay, and you don't need to be stressing or having to worry about putting money aside as you're here, just to know that that's going to be already taken care of, that you don't need to be working tirelessly and hard to make sure you put money aside for that, should that ever happen. Just by putting that a little bit aside on a monthly basis to an insurance will ease the pressure of you having to put so much away, because it is actually cheaper to do that than it is to try and save so much money every single month to ensure that everything's fine.
And essentially what you're saying there is that the amount that the paying the premiums would guarantee you is more than if you were to save that money in cash. So,
and you get to choose how much you want to ensure that your children are covered for. So obviously the less you want to put aside, the cheaper the premium will be. and the more expensive it will be. But you get to choose what that is.
Okay, I like that. You're the first person to ever speak about insurances on the show, I believe. Any other tangible one?
Yeah, and so I'll be careful in terms of saying having a side hustle or things like that, because reason being, one of my lovely favorite mentors, Yinka Awala, she always says this quote, which I absolutely love, is like, if you have a business, treat it like a business and it will pay you like a business. If you have a hobby, it will cost you like a hobby. And what she means by that is that if you are going to have something that's going to give you extra income on your day job, then ensure that you treat it like it's your full time as well, because it will constantly cost you if you just see it as something that you do at the side of your desk. So have that same energy that you will do with your 9 to 5 as you do for your business. So you can follow some form of passion in terms of actually being able to create that additional money. But the easiest way, again, is to invest. Investing is, again, so overlooked. And actually what I only learned this week is that the reason why we all think it's just for rich people is because it's only been accessible in the last 20 years. Because 20 years ago, you had to know someone, and it cost a lot of money for you to get somebody to actually support you in doing it, a financial advisor. But actually the barrier to entry is so low now that anyone's be able to invest. If you can only do £5 or £10 a month, it is better than doing nothing at all. So just do whatever is in your means, and only do what you feel like you can lose. Because if you are worried about the investing market without having too much financial literacy behind it, then just dabble with it. At least get to learn about it, get to understand it, get to know it. I love robo-advisors. So apps such as Moneybox or Wealthify, Plum, those are really good. I absolutely love Nosso for junior ISAs, because you can put little notes and pictures on there as well, which I think is beautiful, because if you send that link out to people, you can see the village who is actually supporting and adding to your child's future. And just to have financial hygiene. So constantly have a rhythm, monthly, quarterly, yearly, to be observing, monitoring, and checking how you are managing your money. And create systems around money that's going to be easy for you to monitor it. So don't feel like you're having to have an intensive budget sheet. Have multiple accounts where you can just put money here or there to ensure that everything's covered. Have your fun money, allow yourself to enjoy your fruits of your labor. And then just put aside for the bits that, if you need to dip into it because of the variability of life, then make sure you have that too.
Yeah, only thing I'd add to that is save up the emergency fund. So if you save up an emergency fund before you invest, and then your investments dip, well, you've got that money saved in cash, don't you? So
absolutely. I like to call it the FU fund.
Yeah, I've heard that one before. Yeah,
I prefer that one, just because I feel that sometimes the emergency feels like, oh, something's about to happen, panic. You know what? Life is so variable anyway. So to have something to cover variability is always going to happen. So if we see it as an emergency and it's only going to be things that are going to be of an emergency, then it's like, oh God damn it, emergency is always happening to me. I'm always having to dip into my emergency fund because life is always an emergency. When actually life is just variable. Like if you don't expect variability in life, then please let me know how you're going through life with no variables, because I need to know the potion and the recipe and the formula for that. But there's always variabilities, and it's just, again, not berating yourself that you've had to dip into some form of emergency fund, or call it whatever you want. Trampoline fund is what one of my clients did. I liked that, you can bounce back. Whatever feels, I'd say, a bit more empowering to use. So then you don't berate yourself for always having an emergency.
It's been really interesting speaking to you today, Cleo, particularly the mindset framework. You've gotten me to think back even to my own past and things that I might still be doing, because my spending's not perfect at all. Like, in fact, it's quite chaotic. I think the main thing that I do is that I check and I just, and I tweak stuff. But you've got me to think about some of these spending habits that maybe even I have, things that have happened in my past. There's a question that we like to ask everyone on the show before we wrap up, and it's what's the best piece of money advice you've ever received? Who shared it with you, and what did you learn?
So my grandma was a fierce Black woman, so strongly independent, and where I get probably a lot of my traits and ways when it came to money, although probably another podcast why I got a big lesson through her death and around money as well. But she was so fierce, independently, built 3 houses in the Caribbean through her own graft. And it's always, which I know a lot of women always get, is just make sure you have your own little pot on the side, which I think is always really important. And it's the FU fund, really, that they coined it first, I believe, is to always make sure you have your own aside to ensure that anything can happen, absolutely anything can happen, which is yours and that you've created for yourself. And that's not to say that I'm expecting to have my relationship collapse or everything. I just don't know what happens and what's around the corner. So just make sure you have a little something at your side.
I like that. Where people want to find you, Cleo, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Women About Finance and on LinkedIn at Cleo Matlou.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for watching this week's episode of the Mr MoneyJar Show. If you enjoyed it, then please do subscribe, as it helps out the show a lot and enables us to continue running. Anyway, we'll be back next week with another special guest. I've been your host, Timmy Merriman Johnson.